Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany, and on this channel we talk about the false beliefs taught to women inside of the church. So if that is something that resonates with you, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you will always be notified every single time that I drop a new video, and always share these videos with a friend so we can start building our community. Come follow me on Instagram right over here. And then last thing, subscribe to my Outspoken Exfundie Newsletter. Everything's going to be in the description box below. Once you're subscribed, you will receive videos 12 to 24 hours early before they go public. So go ahead and go in the description box below and click the Outspoken Exfundie Newsletter so we can always be connected. Today we have a few things to get into. This was not a scheduled video. I'm having to do this because today was actually supposed to be a Cringy Christian Content video, but I really think this is important to get out as soon as possible because this just happened. So, if y'all remember, in a past Cringy Christian Content video, I showed this video here.
You and I are in a day and age where deconstruction and the turning away from and leaving the faith has become some sort of sexy thing to do. I contend that if you ever experience the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ, actually, that's really impossible to deconstruct from.
That pastor's name is Matt Chandler, and he is the pastor of a church in Texas, and it's called the Village Church. Well, he is stepping down from the role of being a pastor at his church due to inappropriate DMs with a woman. Now, we're going to go through a few articles explaining what had happened, and then I'll show you a video of him approaching his congregation and explaining to them also what had happened. So every article that I'm going to read is going to be in the description as well, so if you want to look them up yourself, you can. So usually if there is some type of scandal like this in the church, it's very black and white. It's very, this was wrong and this is right. Like, you should have done this, you shouldn't have done that kind of thing. But in this case, it's really not, and it's a bit confusing. And so I posted on Instagram and I posted this on TikTok, and I had a few people, not so much like come after me, but they're like, hey, you need to do more research on the story. And in the video that I shared, I wasn't accusing anyone of anything. I was just saying, hey, we're going to do more research on this because everything that I've researched so far is a little sketchy. It's a little weird. Like, I don't think we have a lot of things answered. So I'll go ahead and read the rest of this. A Texas megachurch pastor is taking a leave of absence after his church learned of frequent messages between him and a woman who is not his wife. Matt Chandler, the lead pastor at the Village Church in Flower Mound, about 30 miles northwest of Dallas, told his congregation on Sunday the move was prompted by what the church's leaders called inappropriate messages between the pair. In the statement recorded and shared to the church's website, the pastor explained that a few months back, a woman approached him in the church foyer with concerns about how I was DMing on Instagram with a friend of hers. I didn't think I had done anything wrong in that, Chandler told the congregation. My wife knew that, her husband knew that, and yet there were a couple of things that she said that were disorienting to me. That same evening, Chandler shared those concerns with his wife, Lauren, and the two elders in an effort to address the situation. The Village Church wrote in an August 28th statement, so this literally just happened. The elders, the statement continues, then commissioned an independent law firm to conduct a review of Chandler's messaging history across social media platforms, his cell phone, and his email. Investigators' report led the elders to conclude that Chandler had violated the church's internal social media use policies, and more importantly than that, while the overarching pattern of his life has been above reproach, He failed to meet the Bible standards for elders of being above reproach. In this instance, the statement reads, while the messages were not romantic or sexual in nature, the frequency and familiarity of the messages crossed the line. They revealed that he did not use language appropriate for a pastor, and he did not model a behavior that we expect from him. So while I'm reading this, comment below like what your thoughts are, because it's very vague. They never come out and say he said to her do this, she said that they never say that. So something as minor as saying like piss could be in the category of things you don't say as a pastor. You know what I mean? So it could be very a minuscule thing, but we don't know. So let me know your thoughts. The statement said his leave of absence is both disciplinary and developmental, which allows him to focus on growing greater awareness in this area. The timeline of his return will be determined by expectations the elders have laid out for his development, the statement said. I'm just really embarrassed, feel stupid. I feel like I'm embarrassing my wife and kids, Chandler told the congregation Sunday. I'm held to a higher standard and fell short of that higher standard. That they're mowing outside, so you might hear it. Sorry. This is the issue with this part. Is that, yeah, pastors, praise and worship leaders, people on the praise team are held to such a higher standard that they can't. I'm not like saying in this example because we don't really know what's going on, but in general, they're held to such a high standard that they can't mess up. Like, they cannot, and this is exactly what my life was. Like, I could not be a human because my mom in particular held me to such a high standard that you can't be human. Like, you cannot make a simple oopsies, like, mistake or even learn from it and still hold that title of a pastor, praise and worship leader. I've had to step down from so many different things because of the decisions that I made. They weren't bad. The standards that the church, the praise team had for me, like, I failed to be that standard. So then I had to step down from all that. And that sucks, man. Not just like for your own personal whatever, that sucks. But at the same time, like, that internalizes, well, I'm not fit for this. I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy. That's how that internalizes. Carrying on. The pastor's leave is the latest blow for the church and the Southern Baptist Convention denomination. Country's second largest faith group of the Village Church is a member. Earlier this month, SBC announced that it's under federal investigation related to abuse. I'm not sure if I can say it. Individually and collectively, each SBC entity is resolved to fully and completely cooperate with this investigation, read an SBC statement released August 12th. The inquiry followed the release of an internal report that found SBC leaders who had mishandled abuse cases for 2 decades. This is why I wanted to read this article, because it went from him, it went from Matt Chandler, and then it trickled down to another problem. Also on August 1st, the Village Church announced on its website that it had settled a 2019 lawsuit alleging that one of its children's ministers molested an 11-year-old girl. The criminal case against the minister was dropped in 2020. The church wrote that after a thorough and lengthy legal investigation, we maintain and firmly believe that we committed no wrong. So, before we read articles about the abuse of this child, let's watch the video of him approaching his congregation here real quick, and then we'll start reading about the abuse.
Hey guys, I know it just feels like, oh my gosh, what's coming? So let me, I'm I'm the lead pastor of this church. I plan on being the lead pastor of this church for the next 20 years. But I do need to... It's harder seeing you. Several months ago, a woman approached me outside here in the foyer. She had some concerns for how I was DMing on Instagram with a friend of hers. I didn't think I had done anything wrong in that. My wife knew that. Her husband knew that. And yet there were a couple of things that she said that were disorienting to me. And so I immediately came into the room. I found Chairman of the Elder Board, Jason Swords, found Josh Patterson, other lead pastor, and said, this is what this person just told me. And then I went home. Lauren wasn't with me that night. I told Lauren, this is what was said to me tonight. From there, the elders began to look into, because that's what they're supposed to do. Because we cannot be a church where anyone is above the scriptures and above the high heavenly call into Christ Jesus. And so they looked into the conversation between me and this other woman, and they had some concerns. And those concerns were not that our messaging was romantic or sexual. It was that our conversations were unguarded and unwise. And because I don't ever want there to be secrets between us, the concerns were really about frequency and familiarity. We believe in brother-sister relationships here. And yet there was a frequency that moved past that, and there was a familiarity that played itself out in coarse and foolish joking. It's unbefitting of someone in my position as a lead pastor. And as an elder, I'm held to a higher standard and fell short of that higher standard. So the elders have decided, and I think they're right, that my inability to see what I was in probably has revealing some unhealth in me. And I don't know if that's tied to the pace I run or the difficulty of the last 6-7 years, but I agree with them. And so in their grace to me and my family, they've decided, and again, I think they're right, to put me on a leave of absence, starting immediately from preaching and teaching at the village church. If I'm on, I'm just really embarrassed. Feel stupid? Thank you. Feel dumb? Feel like I'm embarrassing my wife and kids, putting a ton of pressure on our staff. I feel like I've fallen short for you. And you might even be hearing, you might not even be a Christian. You might be hearing me saying this like, what the H? But the Word of God holds me to a certain standard. And I need to live into that. And I fell short. And man, I'm apologizing to my family, to you, to all involved in this situation. And some things I love. I love that our elders engaged at the level they did. You know how easy this would have been to make it nothing and just let me not address whatever this is? Super grateful that the elders have loved us and walked with us the way that they have. Super grateful for you. I'm super hopeful for what's to come in the future. But I need to breathe. And that's both discipline. It's both discipline and development. And so, man, in time, forgive me. I love you. Eager for the other side of this, whatever God has for us. And so let me pray for us, and then Josh will step in and lead us in the service. Father, I love these people. Thank you for giving them to me and me to them. I thank you that the whole ethos of this family is that you take crappy things and you turn them beautiful in time. Bless them in the name of Jesus. I just pray if there's any kind of church hurt, or I knew it, or God, that you would minister to that place. Pray if there be anybody in here who has their own embarrassment, stupid thing, that they would fling themselves on your mercy. Praise you that your grace is sufficient for all things. It's for your beautiful name I pray. Amen. Amen.
It is just so interesting to me, because I've heard a lot of people speak on this, and I even watched a Paul and Morgan video of them talking about it. I wanted to see what their opinion was when it came to this, and Morgan even said what I was thinking and what a lot of other people are thinking. Like, if his wife knew and the husband of the other woman knew, what's the issue? Like, what? And then there was no romantic talk, there was no sexual talk, there was nothing like that. Then what's the actual issue? So either the elders like went above and beyond, and they were like, hey, y'all are talking like you really know each other, or y'all are talking a whole bunch. This could be something that could escalate to cheating or escalate to something worse. Either that, or they actually found messages like from his, because they went through all the social medias and his text messages and emails. That's invasive. That's crazy. So they might have seen something that was a little, that were red flags, and we just don't know what those messages were. So you can tell how this is very iffy and very vague. And that prayer to me is weird. It was okay, so Morgan actually brought up a good point, though. Another good point. I never thought I was going to reference anything from Paul and Morgan, but she did say that the church in itself wasn't necessarily made to be like a mega church, to be so involved with one or two people, instead of actually going to church for, for the worshiping of God, for, whatever. But in mega churches, it seems like that pastor kind of forms himself, usually him, forms himself into that, like, deity, into that, like, look at me, I'm going to be the perfect example for God, so you can look at me and then be more like God. That's kind of how mega churches, like, kind of run. And it's a bit, in my opinion, it's a bit culty looking. So I know this is a mega church, and that prayer, the thank you God for giving them to me and me to them, I love these people, that it seemed a little off to me. I don't know why, but it seemed just a little off. But in whatever, the whole thing is very iffy. It's not even black and white. It's like, what were they messaging each other? Not saying like we should even know. It's none of our business at the end of the day. Am I curious? Duh. But it's not one of those, oh my God, we need to know everything, whatever. But what were they messaging each other? Were the elders like, hey, you flirted here just a little bit, or you said she looked nice here, like that probably should, well, maybe, now that I'm thinking out loud, maybe the spouses knew that they were chatting with each other, but then the spouses also didn't know how much that they were talking, like they were saying, like the frequency of which they were talking, and maybe there were more like, good mornings, you look beautiful today, good night. Maybe that was familiar. Maybe that is what was happening. I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm throwing theories out there. So let's go ahead and dive into the S abuse that was also going on. I have another article that we're going to read. Again, it'll be in the description box below. Department of Justice investigates Southern Baptist Convention following abuse inquiry. Okay, so it's not necessarily the church, but it is in the sphere of the Southern Baptist Convention, as they are Southern Baptist denomination. Following a report outlining Southern Baptist Convention leaders' failures in addressing widespread clergy abuse, the SBC, Southern Baptist Convention, is now under investigation by the Department of Justice. Federal investigators are looking at the denomination and several of its affiliated agencies, the SBC confirmed Friday. Individually, this was written August 12th. Individually and collectively, each SBC entity is resolved to fully and completely cooperate with this investigation. Okay, and here's more. Buckle in. The Village Church, a large Southern Baptist church in Texas, pastored by Matt Chandler, which we just heard from, has announced it reached a settlement with a woman who had reported one of the church's pastors assaulted her when she was 11 years old. But the conflict isn't over. The church statement said, "We maintain and firmly believe that we committed no wrong," and noted that the woman couldn't positively identify that it was the church employee who had abused her. The woman's family protested, saying in a statement that the church's statement was not fully truthful, transparent, or caring for the traumatized. The family has left the church over the handling case. No kidding. The attempt to communicate care in one sentence, followed by language that invalidates and dismisses the merits of the victim's claims, is not the way to express care, compassion, and truth, the family said. And then we wonder why so many victims of trauma are leaving the church. The settlement comes in the context of Southern Baptist churches wrestling with how to respond to a report documenting extensive abuse in the denomination. The civil lawsuit against the Village Church was filed under the name Jane Doe, but the mother recounted the details of what happened to her daughter on the record to the New York Times in 2019. The girl reported to her mother the year before that back in 2012, a pastor at the church during summer camp, Matthew Tony, had touched her in her bed with her undergarments pulled down. The mother immediately filed a police report, as one should, and reported the incident to the church. The church said it also immediately filed a police report. Tone maintained his innocence. The church fired the pastor shortly after the family's report in 2018, but told the congregation it was over alcohol abuse. The church didn't share publicly that a children's pastor had been accused of abuse until prosecutors indicted him over the incident in January 2019. The family accused the church of negligence in its response and sought out $1 million in a lawsuit. Okay. It said the church had not helped the child process her abuse, but paid for Tony's alcohol abuse treatment. Nuh-uh. Chandler, who also leads the Chandler, the one that we just listened to, leads the Acts 29 network of churches, addressed the case in an interview with Baptist 21 in June 2019 after the Times article came out. He insisted that the church had reported immediately and deferred to the family and detectives on everything, including not publicly naming Tony as an abuse suspect. He said he dealt with the report as a father whose daughter was in a cabin nearby when the alleged abuse took place. But he also mentioned that Tony, the accused, was beloved and had spent time ministering to his daughter. That's what I'm saying. They don't think that these particular people can can abuse children, so they cover it up. They're like, no. Of course Tony, I don't know, couldn't have done it. I don't care what your child says. I don't care what's happening. Like, I know that he couldn't have done it because he's ministered to my daughter. The village church and the name Matt Chandler in 200 years won't mean jack squat, said Chandler. Yet, what you and I can do in this moment of history that can be talked about in 200 years, that you and I would be serious about the protection of the most vulnerable, about not defending our institutions, but doing convictional, courageous leadership, doing what's right even if it hurts. Huh? The church has used Ministry Safe as an outside organization to handle its abuse prevention policies and responses, but the Times reported that the Bragg family learned as the case developed that one of the leaders of Ministry Safe, Kimberly Norris, was also a lawyer for the church. That meant a lawyer defending the church was also overseeing its accountability measures. In 2020, Dallas County prosecutors dismissed criminal charges against Tony, saying the girl could not positively identify Tony as the person who committed this offense. When prosecutors announced that decision, the victim's attorney expressed shock, telling Star local media in Frisco, Texas, that the woman was ready to identify the village church children's minister, Matthew Tony, same pastor who pleaded his Fifth Amendment rights in his deposition given in our lawsuit, as her assailant. In its August statement announcing the settlement, the church brought up the prosecutor's decision to drop the charges, quoting prosecutors saying the woman couldn't positively identify the pastor as the offender. Our client's testimony regarding the assault and who committed it has never wavered, one of the attorneys representing the woman told CT, which CT is where I'm reading this from. It's tragic that TVC never really seemed to grasp that. We are so grateful to our client for taking the profoundly difficult and brave step forward to bring darkness to light in this matter. The church did not immediately respond to a request for a comment to the family statement. We are an imperfect church, Chandler said in 2019, but when it comes to reporting as soon as we heard, taking our cues from the detective and the family, I'm not sure what we could have done different. Let me know your thoughts below on Matt Chandler, on just everything. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know in the comments if anything else comes out over the story, if the messages come out. If I find something interesting, I'll do a follow-up video, but I thought it was important that I did a video quickly, kind of get out of my content schedule. We'll be back on schedule soon with the Cringy Christian Content, but this just happened, so I really wanted to get it out as soon as possible. So again, let me know your thoughts below. Do you think it's a black and white issue? Do you think they're covering something else up for him to step down as pastor? Let me know your thoughts on Southern Baptist Convention. Again, if shining a light on the false beliefs taught to women inside of the church is something that resonates with you, please subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell so you'll be notified every single time that I drop a new video, which should be once every week. And always remember that you are a fierce and powerful motherfucking woman, and you're a fierce and powerful motherfucking man. And also remember that it is not your responsibility to convince anyone of anything. Okay, I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.